Hi Chefeteers, I'm Chef Nakia and I want you to be more confident in the kitchen and have a really happy holiday season. So are you hosting the big holiday meal for the first time this year? Or maybe you are putting together a Friendsgiving and you don't have all day to cook. You want to make as much from scratch as possible, but you definitely want to have all of the food ready on time when guests arrive, and you want to have some energy left to enjoy the party too. Well, today I'm going to share with you some of my meal prep tips for the upcoming holiday feasts. So first I'm going to start with some just general overall good meal prep guidelines. Number one, start with a written plan. Always write stuff down. That way you can have a clear to-do list and you don't forget anything. Also, start with the biggest task first. So the thing that is going to be the most time consuming, and it may be active prep time, like where you are preparing it the whole time, or it could be cook time. But it's always good to put that towards the front. That way you can get it started, get it going, and then you have this sense of accomplishment. And when that is done early, you are less likely to run behind on other things. Fill all of your inactive cooking time. So if you are waiting for a pot of water on the stove to boil, be sure to be doing something else in the meantime. Washing and chopping veggies are really easy tasks, along with cleaning as you go and maybe washing a few dishes. You can also, especially if you're doing like baking recipes, you can scale out your like flours and spices and things like that so that those are ready to go. And be sure to think 2 steps ahead. So are there any ingredients that you're using in multiple dishes? And if so, be sure to do whatever prep work for those at the same time, and then you can save them in separate food storage containers if you need. But it's really helpful to, when you're prepping one ingredient, prep it for all of the dishes that it might need to be used in. And then also think, are you going to have leftovers of any ingredients? And if so, you might be able to find a way to incorporate those into dishes that you're already planning to make. But maybe it can be an extra little secret ingredient, or add some complexity to that dish. And label. Labeling is always so important because it's really easy to forget exactly what we intended to use something for whenever we're doing a lot of prep at once. So it could feel silly at times, but truly label every ingredient. If you need to label the quantity, do that too, and then what dish you're planning to use it in. And if you are prepping over a couple different days, you can also write the day that you plan to make that dish on. So for example, you might be dicing onion, and you can save some in a little dish that says diced onion, coconut pumpkin soup, Wednesday. And then some more in a dish that says onion gravy Tuesday, and then still more in a dish that says vegetable side dish, diced onion, vegetable side dish Thursday. All right, now thinking about the traditional holiday foods specifically, what can you prepare ahead of time and it's still gonna be good when people arrive to eat and enjoy? The majority of the time, dessert can be done ahead of time. Like pumpkin pies can be baked and frozen and then thawed and served, and they're still delicious. Same with layer cakes and cookies. So usually dessert can actually be one of the first things that you start prepping, and then you can get it into the freezer. You might even be able to do this 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. Also, for your proteins, make sure that it is thawed. So Turkey Day, most people, of course, cook a huge turkey, and it can take those birds really long time to thaw. So make sure you plan plenty of time for that bird to thaw, and plenty of time for it to then cook in the oven. Now, if you are not tied to having a turkey and you think you might want some protein options that would be a little bit more prepper friendly, you could use Cornish hens. They are much smaller, so they're gonna cook a lot quicker. And these you're still not going to want to prepare too far ahead of time, but they won't take as long to cook. Therefore, on the day of your feast, it won't feel like as big of a task to do. Ham is a great option that is going to reheat a lot better than something like turkey would. So ham is super juicy, so whenever you cook it and cool it and then reheat it, it's gonna stay juicy, it's gonna have a nice texture. Because that's the problem with turkey, is it's hard to cook it too far ahead of time because turkey, it's already gonna be dry, and the more often you reheat it, the drier it's going to get. So if you are okay with skipping the turkey and you really wanna focus on prepping as much ahead of time as possible, maybe try doing a ham. One last note with the protein is don't forget to incorporate the time that it's going to take to marinate that meat, if that applies to what you're cooking. For the most part, you can wash and dice your vegetables, and you might even be able to par cook them ahead of time. For example, for green bean casserole, you can steam those green beans a day or two ahead of time if you'd like, save them in the fridge, and then whenever you go to prepare your green bean casserole, you're gonna wanna do that the day of so that those crispy onions on top stay nice and crispy. But because the green beans are already cooked, now you're really just reheating everything together and allowing the flavors to meld, and the casserole won't need to stay in the oven for as long as it would if you needed to still cook those green beans all the way through. Potatoes and sweet potatoes can typically be made ahead of time and reheated. If you make mashed potatoes and you like them super creamy, and then you cool them down, and when you go back to reheat them to serve them, they don't seem as creamy as you like, you can totally just add more melted butter or warm cream as you're mixing them back up, and that's gonna really give them that nice fluffy creamy texture again. Pro tip. And then deviled eggs can be made a few days ahead of time too. Your gravy can be cooked ahead of time and saved in the fridge and reheated and served. That's definitely not an issue at all. The only time where that could get complicated is if you are intending to use your turkey drippings to make your gravy, because you need to cook the turkey first, and like we talked about, the turkey's gonna dry out some. So as long as you are not set on using your turkey drippings for this specific gravy, then you can definitely do the gravy ahead of time, cool it, refrigerate it, reheat it. If for your feast you have any crock pot dishes or crock pot soups, make sure to start those in the morning. And even if it's done a little bit earlier than you intended, you can just keep that crock pot on the warm setting. And a lot of times the flavors in soups develop and get even better with some time. So don't worry about a soup being done 3 or 4 hours early. Unless there's pasta in it, then you might, that makes it complicated, but we're gonna assume there's no pasta in it. You'll be totally fine. So now there are a few dishes that I recommend preparing, right before people arrive. I would not do these a day or two ahead of your feast. Stuffing is one of those. Reheated stuffing just does not have the same texture as fresh stuffing. Also, toasted bread. So if you want to make rolls, you can definitely bake those off ahead of time, that's fine. But if you are slicing and toasting a bread, maybe for an appetizer or garlic bread type thing, do that the day of, because the texture will change with time. And then if you are having fish as your protein, so I know sometimes people will do whole salmon, you want to bake fish the day of. Fish dries out really quickly too, so you definitely don't want to cook that a day or two ahead of time and then reheat it. And then to me, cornbread is borderline. In my opinion, if you are going to slice the cornbread, then you should not do that days ahead of time. But if you are going to make like cornbread muffins, or kind of, you're gonna bake the cornbread in single serve little dollops, then that's fine. When you slice cornbread, it starts drying out, and I just think it gets pretty dry and crumbly pretty quickly. So if you really want to prep your cornbread ahead of time, do it in like a muffin tin. And then a couple additional ideas just for a nice flow on the day, and you can apply this to really any type of dinner party scenario. It is not specific to holiday feasts. Number one, whatever serving dishes you plan to use, if you keep those somewhere else, so maybe it's in a bin in the basement or garage, or you're borrowing from people, make sure to pull those and have them close at hand before the day of the party. So even if it's just the night before, make sure everything that you're gonna need you kind of have organized in one place, because that's gonna save you time whenever it gets a little bit hectic, when you're trying to plate everything up and you realize, oh no, I forgot that platter. Now I have to run downstairs into the basement, find the bin. Now I need to like wash it off really quickly. When you pull them out ahead of time, you can make sure they're all wiped down, washed, and ready for food. Also, plan a welcoming bite or some type of appetizer to have whenever people arrive. This helps you so much in the long run, because if the main dinner is running even a little bit late, being able to offer your guests a welcoming bite of some kind as soon as they walk in the door is going to alleviate a lot of that stress, because they're already eating, snacking a little bit. They're not going to be asking, okay, when's dinner ready? And even if they're not asking with their words, sometimes you can see it in their eyes. So if you have some kind of welcoming bite ready to go as soon as people arrive, then if you need a little bit extra time finishing the main meal, people are going to be so much more patient. Along with that, be sure to clean as you go. That way you're not trying to do a bunch of dishes as people are arriving. Cleaning as you go can be making sure to even start the day before by running your dishwasher the day before. That way you can empty it out and have a completely empty dishwasher to put all of your dirty dishes into. Also, wiping down your surfaces and cleaning little by little, as much as you can as you go, will help you alleviate a lot of stress whenever it comes to actually serving and sitting and eating and enjoying. And don't forget to schedule time for yourself to get ready. So whether that means just a shower, or shower and hair and makeup and everything, don't forget that you need time too. So you don't want to be stressed and rushing through your own getting ready time. Give the food the time it deserves, and give yourself the time you deserve. What do you think? Are there any holiday dishes specifically that you are questioning, could I prep that ahead of time or not? And if I were to prep it, what would be the best steps in order to get that dish ready and still be like the best quality in terms of flavor and texture? Let me know if you're curious about any specific holiday dishes in the comments, and I will let you know my thoughts. Thank you, Chefeteers, and I hope that you have a very happy holiday season full of delicious food and beautiful memories.